Welcome
Yeah.
back. Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
How are you, my friend?
I'm so grateful. I was listening to the show last week, and I feel like every week, maybe a little bit of me feels like Cecile, like mixed. There's always a list of things going on. But like we talked about before the show, I'm grateful, and I'm grateful to be here, grateful for episode 217.
Right. I'm
Yeah,
excited about what we're talking about today. Today, we're
me too.
talking about fitness after 35.
Yeah. I
You're getting
love
close.
I'm getting close. I am. So that's why I'm excited about, finding out what's up ahead, challenges. I love the question, what is, one of the greatest challenges that a lot of your clients face? But especially this conversation that we're having about prenatal, postnatal care, all of the stories and different things that have been going on in our country has been alarming for the last few years.
Hmm.
So with
Hmm.
Women Connected in Wisdom and us being intentional about connecting everybody to the resources they need. I'm excited to see what'll unfold in this conversation that'll help our listeners and help us out.
Me too. Should we
Yeah.
do the official intro and then do a little more chatting?
After I ask you how you're doing, how are you doing?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna leave you off. We're not gonna skate past it.
I am okay.
Mm,
I'm just getting back from 10 days of travel
yeah.
and a lot of airplanes, a lot of different beds. My body's a little fussy, but I'm grateful to be home. I
Yeah.
am grateful to be resetting my systems and being in my routine. And it's, it's a
Yeah.
transition day. So,
I hear you. Yeah, and I
mhm,
love how you ladies show up for us. Cecile
mhm,
last week coming off of the flu. Like,
mhm.
wow, Michael Jordan play right here. She came in and substituted for me as she's coming off the flu. And you this week, I hear you on what your body is giving you feedback. So thank you for
Yeah.
consistently showing up for us.
Well, I love it.
Yeah.
Yesterday would have been challenging because I got in at 6:30 a.m. I might not have been able to say my own name, but yeah,
Oh,
I'm grateful. We have
yeah.
created these lives where we get to go and do the things we love and connect with people. And I had a very connecting 10 days in California. And it
Good.
did not stink to be in sunny California when the
Yes.
weather in parts of the country were so cold and frigid.
Really.
And I walked 7.5 miles one day because it was
Mm,
70 degrees and sunny. And
mm.
everybody that I had a meeting with locally was like, "Hey, you want to take a walk to the lake?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Nice. I'm looking at the Super Bowl and I'm like, where are they at? Because everybody
Puerto
else is
Rico.
cold right now, right,
Well,
exactly,
this
should
for
be
the halftime they were in Puerto Rico,
they were in
but yeah,
Puerto Rico.
they were in California.
And
That was part of
apparently,
my stress getting home, I think, with flights
mm,
because of everybody flying back. So
wow.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that makes sense.
Hmm.
But apparently there was a second halftime show. I don't know where they
Oh,
were.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw a picture. I thought that was
mm-mm,
a different year.
mm-mm,
So,
mm-mm.
but
Yeah, yeah,
you know, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we can go to the intro on that one.
Yeah, because I have a lot to say about that,
And
and
we could
let's
say more
intro
if
it.
you want to, but yeah, we're going to talk about how to be well and wise, right? Hey y'all, I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur, Amazon best-selling publisher, author, and all-natural product manufacturer. I'm a champion for your natural self-care, sustainable business care, and overall intentional wellness.
Hi, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, best-selling author and publisher, and a dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Yes, together we are a podcast rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co-founders of Women Connected in Wisdom community.
And we like to get together every week with special guests to have intentional conversations about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness. How do we do this?
Yes, so important. So
Right?
important.
Yeah, I love that we're talking about physical wellness today, and especially when my body is really talking to me.
Yeah. What's coming up for you around this dimension this week?
Oh, just more rest.
Mm,
You and I were talking in our production time about how I had some experiences in California with different events I was leading or co-leading or attending, and rest just kept coming up.
mm,
And I know, especially for women, it is one of I was raised in a family where if you were seen sitting down, you were given a task, right? Or if it was always you've got to be doing and producing, and it's really coming up for me even when there's more to do lately about the importance of the rest.
Hmm. I've been thinking about it for myself, especially with things like
Oh,
last week and sitting down. Am I glitching?
you
Maybe it's
glitched just a
the
little bit.
we talked about the weather. Maybe it's the energy with the cold out here, just like around the
Mm.
country. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know.
Well, that's
But
okay.
let me
We're
know if
gonna
that
hopefully
helps. Yeah,
Sadi will
we'll
fix
work
it
with
for
it.
us. Thank you, Sadi, in advance.
Thank you, Sati. Thank you, thank you. Um, what were we talking about?
I don't know. Now my brain is glitched.
I'm still thinking about Bad Bunny. I'm still thinking about the halftime show.
Was
uh,
so good.
it
It was
was
so good.
It was good, and I saw information about the choreographer, and it finally clicked. Sometimes this thing with artists will happen when they click into place, and you can see their signature. And as
Hmm.
the halftime show was coming, I was thinking about Kendrick Lamar, and then I saw that the same choreographer had done both, and I was like, "Yep, I see you.
Okay.
I could see it." And phenomenal, phenomenal. I would say top three choreographers, and if it wasn't this one from Atlanta that I know that works with a lot of famous people. She is top three, top three. She did a phenomenal job. So I was super happy for Bad Bunny to get that experience, and I hope that he was able to enjoy it.
The only regret I had
Hmm.
is if I'd have known where the halftime was and
Hmm.
been prepared enough, I'd
Hmm.
have applied to be one of the grasses.
Hmm.
Because I was out in that area. I could have done it, man. You had to be 5'7" or higher.
But
I
what
was like,
about
I
your
could have
rest, Christine? It sounds like you're trying to triple
I would
book yourself.
I would trade my rest to be grass for,
Y'all,
a cane field grass for
do
Bad
y'all hear
Bunny. I
this?
mean, wouldn't you, though? Wouldn't you?
I would. I'm not gonna
See?
lie. I would have been out
Okay.
there. I said, "Oh, they're moving. There's somebody in there. It's like the master of
Right?
disguise." But
Right.
still, we gotta do
Joe would have
both.
wanted to have been on the field dancing because
Yeah,
We Zumba every week together, and Bad Bunny is one of our Zumba song.
the
I mean,
songs, nice.
multiple.
Yeah.
So our shout out to our Zumba teacher Fawn. She's a
Hmm.
huge Bad Bunny fan. So she had been prepping us for this, I think,
Say more.
before it was even announced that he was going to be showing in the
Okay. See,
Super
because
Bowl.
I'm gonna do a back study. I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna look at the list of songs. Go look at the lyrics, right? Because I speak Spanish, but
Yeah.
I still don't know what they're saying, right? So I'll go
Yeah.
look at the lyrics. Then I'll go look at the research with what everybody's saying about it, and then I might watch it again. But
Ooh, see, I
yeah,
love that.
yeah,
That's what I did when Beyonce did her bowl, that
hmm,
halftime show.
yeah.
Oh,
It was
so
good. Was
good.
it Coach Carter? And I think the
Yes.
same choreographer did that one. It was good.
Oh,
Yeah.
now I gotta check
She's,
that.
oh yeah, check her out.
If that's the exact same choreographer, we need
Hmm.
to tag her in our
I
show
think her
notes.
name might be Chanel. I don't want to say, I don't know if I remember it correctly. It might start with a C. I'll see if I have it saved, but yeah,
Okay.
she's amazing.
Phenomenal. All right, we
Yeah,
probably should talk about the dimension we're talking about
we
today
should.
and pull our guest up here. You ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so y'all, today we're talking about physical wellness. Physical wellness is the ability to maintain a quality of life that allows you to thrive in your daily activities without undue fatigue or physical stress. Physical wellness recognizes that our daily choices, habits, and behaviors have an impact on our overall health, well being, and quality of life.
Yes. Well-being. Well-being. That's what sticks out to me this week. What about you?
Well, I was just thinking about how much I was able to move last week because the weather. I love to exercise, but I especially love to exercise outdoors. And
Yes.
how many steps I got in last week, and so much of it was because I wanted to be outside in the sun. So this time of year, I have to really have those daily intentions. That's what's coming up for me about the movement when the weather's not good where I'm at.
Yeah. And it's been a conversation we had. I was offering somebody um the resource of a vitamin D light the other day. Like if you
Mhm.
can't get outside and you know you need the vitamin D and you're in a shaded
Mhm.
place, maybe a vitamin D lamp, right, y'all? I've seen them on Amazon, maybe $20 a few years ago. I was
Mhm.
looking it up for somebody. Um,
Did
Where it
you
came up
know
for
that
you.
Georgia is right on the line for that?
What do you online for what?
That we don't get enough sunshine. It depends on
Really?
the year whether we get enough sunshine or not.
That makes
Because my
sense.
vitamin D was really low and I looked it up years ago when I moved here. Because I'm from
Yeah.
Texas and,
Yeah.
being from Texas, we got enough sun.
Hmm.
And, but here we're right on the line for not enough sunshine.
That makes sense. And that's why I love that we talk about being intentional in your body because it
Hmm.
makes sense. Like certain years in Georgia, I would feel it, others not. It would
Hmm.
depend on what my level of activity was. And I didn't even really notice it until COVID
Hmm.
because throughout high school, I was outside, right? We had band, so I
Hmm.
was band camp,
Hmm.
practice at all the football games. Like, I don't think I ever missed a football game. I don't think I did. And then after college, we had rounds as RAs. So we were walking around campus doing different stuff. Of course, I was on campus. But as I got into the hospitality industry, in the kitchen, there's not windows in there. You're trying to cook the food. You're not worried about
Right.
the beautiful sunset, unfortunately. And so COVID really had, vitamin D and being intentional about how I take care of myself, front of mind, and how I keep my levels at a certain place to make sure that I don't go below what I need. And that's why I'm
Mm.
super excited to have this conversation with our guest because, like, hormones and like really specific scientific stuff, I think I know sometimes, but outside of that, I'm going to be trying to look it up. So I love being
Hmm.
connected to people who can help us know what tests to run, know how to think about it so that in different seasons or different stages we can maintain our wellness.
I love it. Let's tell our guest about who's on today and get her up here.
Okay, y'all. Today we're going to be talking to Dr. Desi Bartlett. And Desi Bartlett is passionate about sharing the joy of movement with over 25 years of experience in health and wellness. She holds advanced certificates in yoga, personal training, prenatal and postnatal fitness, and has worked with celebrities like Ashley Tisdale and Kate Hudson. An internationally published author of Your Strong, Sexy Pregnancy and co author of Total Body Beautiful, Desi brings her experience to DesiBodyMind.com, offering transformative content for physical and mental well being. Desi, originally from Chicago and a proud mother of two, now resides on the picturesque island of, let me make sure I pronounce it right, Oahu. Help us welcome to the stage Dr. Desi Bartlett. Hi,
Thank you.
Desi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to connect with you both.
Of
And I have to
course.
tell you, I'm kind of nerding out a little bit when it comes to the Super Bowl conversation.
Mm.
So I'm really passionate about helping women through different stages and phases of life, especially when those stages and phases are particularly transformational or impactful, like pregnancy. And
Yes.
so when you all were talking about Bad Bunny, where my brain went was also Rihanna. And do you
Yes.
remember her just killing it when she was pregnant
The
and the
Oh my
red?
gosh.
power,
Come on.
like the feminine power that that woman exuded was so inspiring.
It was. It was the shape of her, and it wasn't even a brassiere. And Rihanna would usually wear something like that, right? But it looked like a mold. The color was popping. She was up in the air, and I was definitely thinking about it as he was climbing that telephone pole. So, yeah, shout out to that.
Something that we don't really talk about so much is that we have up to 50% more blood volume when we're pregnant. And
Wow.
so we actually have a bit of a physical advantage.
Mm.
And in some sports, like in the Olympics, in some
Yeah.
sports, they kind of look at that because they don't want a pregnant woman to have a specific sort of advantage that would be parallel to like blood doping, right? But
Mm.
you can be stronger when you're pregnant, and it's something we don't talk about enough. And so yeah, I think she was a beautiful example of just showing us like strength in action.
Yes. And I love her for a list of reasons. Rihanna, I usually call her the billionaire. And I know there are multiple billionaires, but I call her the billionaire. And so I love seeing her transcend. I love seeing people ask her for music and she's dropping makeup and lingerie lines and all this other stuff. And her transition into motherhood has just been so beautiful to watch. So thank you for bringing
Mm,
that up. Yes.
of course, yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, so we talk about yoga, we talk about physical wellness, and in our books, we talk about, actually, Christine talks about how, we think about physical wellness from a certain place. And a lot of times it can be considered vanity because it's, you know, centering what somebody else sees when they see us as women who are taught to be pretty as women who are taught to be people pleasers and presenting a certain way. Can you talk about how you center the conversation of wellness and the different things that you intentionally walk your clients through so that it's sustainable for them through their different transitions?
So I grew up with a mother who was a hippie, and yoga and meditation came into my life at a very young age. And
Mm,
I was always taught that the body is a vessel, and this vessel is here to help us realize our dreams. So we want to take care of this vessel, whether it's with sunshine, like you all were talking about, water, sleep, proper movement, and nourish it so that it can take us everywhere that we want to go. So I'm not so much looking at like, oh, you want to drop the last 5 pounds? No. What I'm asking when I'm working with someone for the first time, I'm asking, like, really and truly, how do you feel? And how do you want to feel? And it's my job to help you bridge the delta between the two.
mhm.
So it's really about recognizing once again that the body is the vessel to help us realize our dreams. And so in that respect, I believe it's our privilege and our duty to take care of it.
I love that. And y'all, for those of us who don't know, I know Desi, you were talking about being a nerd. Delta is change. Specifically, that's what it means scientifically, right? So when I
Yes.
see all these Ozempic commercials, like I didn't used to watch as many commercials before I moved to New Jersey, but I'm seeing all these shots for weight loss, and it might give you the weight transformation that you're looking for, but it's deeper than that. And so there still needs to be, the holistic change and the transition of how we see ourselves and the list of other things that we could talk about in that transition of the weight drop where you're going down to the size that's your dream size. Can you talk more about what that change looks like when you're walking your clients through it?
Yeah. So when the body is transforming as a result of new health and fitness protocols or routines, if you will, I think that's absolutely beautiful. But I'd like to go back to something that you just said. So
Yes.
GLP-1, semaglutide, it's everywhere right now. And GLP-1 is something that our bodies naturally make, and we don't necessarily think about that, you know? So when it is used in a specific way, if someone has diabetes, fantastic. If they're using it to diminish inflammation on a cellular level, totally get it.
Right.
Now it's being used more and more for weight loss. And my only message around that to anyone who's listening who might be interested in it for that purpose is please just make sure, actually, there's a couple messages. Please make sure that you get enough protein because the weight that you're going to lose will not only be from fat, it will be from muscle as well. And so we want to try to mitigate that impact because you worked hard for that muscle and that muscle supports your bones. So we need it. And then secondly, have an off ramp so that you're not looking at this as something that you're going to take for the rest of your life. So I think it's important to sort of frame it in a way where we're not being super judgmental, like, oh my God, she's taking it. Um, but instead, uh, with women especially, say, okay, cool, if that's your choice, great, but please get enough protein and please have an off ramp. And when I'm working with people, I'm asking them about all kinds of different things when it comes to strength, flexibility, sleep, sunshine, emotional health. So I really like to go deep into sort of an inventory so that I know like where can I help you? Where can I be of service? Because I feel like health is not just, what size my jeans are.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Dr. Desi, I have a very specific question. Very selfishly. But I had a yoga practice for years and then I had an injury. I was doing triathlons and I had a bike accident and had a wrist injury.
Risk.
So I lost my practice because it was probably about a year when I got back into it. And of course, in that year, I lost a ton of flexibility. I was older, like I wasn't so and it was discouraging. So I don't feel like I've ever gotten my practice completely back. Do you have an idea? I guess I just want like how long if you're practicing on a daily, if you're doing yoga, if you're doing stretches, like when should you be seeing improvement? I guess that's I just need some motivation.
Okay, for sure. So I had a teacher many, many years ago, and she said something so beautiful. She said that yoga is like a river, and you can step in or step out whenever you choose. So if you are choosing to step back into this river, I'd first like to remind you that yoga is not just about the postures. There are all these different limbs. There's meditation, there's pranayama, there's the ability to go within. So I feel like you already do have a practice because I saw the way that you breathe and talk about like walking around a labyrinth and meditation. But if you'd like to bring back in asana and flexibility training, that kind of thing, um, there's a rule. It's 4% per week. So if you want to know like exactly how much flexibility am I going to gain
I
in
love
general,
that.
if you're practicing 2 to 3 days a week, then 4% per week.
Oh, see, now the nerd in me loves that specificity because it's like, oh, that can be measured.
Mhm.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. So the muscles that support the joints, uh, each of our joints has a specific range of motion, right?
Mm,
So like the shoulders can move in full circles, and the hips can as well. But then you think about like the elbow. Let me show you my elbow. All it does is flex and extend. It's not designed to move in circles.
mhm.
So we just kind of look at like where is your range of motion today and where do you want to be? And again, let's just bridge the gap.
I love that. And Christine, I could share too. I just started. What is Dr. Desi? What is the stretch called when you're laying on your back and then you put your legs over and then behind your head? What is that stretch called?
Plow.
The plow. So
Yeah.
I started the plow back, right? Because I could tell the difference in the bottom of my neck, I guess
Mhm.
the top of my spine, right? And the bottom of it, at the bottom of my back when I don't do it. And I did it in the morning. And then by the nighttime, it was, I think I had done it like 2 or 3 times that day. And I could already tell the difference. And so I love knowing that 4%, okay, it's quantitative, I can count it. But what I think about with yoga and stretching is what my yoga friends say. It's just about getting on the mat. And if you got to the mat, you're winning. And you're better than you were
Absolutely.
and like
Mm,
back into that river that she's talking about.
And the
mhm.
ancient
Yeah.
yogis specifically talk about the suppleness of the spine, the mobility of the spine. The more supple the spine is, the younger and more vital we feel.
Mm,
So, Shannon, I know you're a lot younger than me, but if you want to keep that like youthful
I do.
joie de vivre, keep doing that. Keep enjoying your plow.
Thank you so much. I receive that.
All right, now
So
y'all are motivating me because I haven't done a plow in years.
you can do this, Christine.
I'm gonna have to get back at it. So,
You know I believe in you.
I'm so loving that we're having this conversation because I do believe that movement is the key. That and listening to our bodies. And Dr. Desi, we were having this conversation before we came on air, and you gave a beautiful. I couldn't write it down because I couldn't spell it. But what is the practice of listening and doing the body scan?
Mhm. So in Sanskrit, it's called svadhyaya, which is just kind of fun to say.
Right?
Svadhyaya. We
Not
close our
fun to spell, but fun to say.
How do you spell it? I spelled it Svadiyaya.
svadhyaya. There's no I.
Okay.
Switch that I out for an A.
Okay.
And I believe that's correct. There might be an H
Okay.
in there because every once in a while in Sanskrit they throw in an
They'll
H.
change it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but
Okay.
real close. So basically, it's a body scan. We close our eyes, breathe deeply, and simply go within and check in with each part of the body. Check in with the feet, check in with the legs, check in with the hips, etc. And then after you finish the physical scan, you can move on to an emotional scan. How is my heart? How's my mind?
Mm.
And then move on from there.
Thank you so much for that. I
Mhm.
didn't realize until you said that I usually combine them. I hadn't thought about the different systems. So I like that to make sure that I'm completely scanning my physical body and then doing a scan of the other systems.
And
Okay.
it's all
I love it.
interconnected.
Of
If if
course.
you only scan one, then you will have feedback from the other. But
Hmm.
I like to address each.
I like
Yes.
the intentionality of that.
Hmm.
Because I do body scans on the regular, but to add like how's my emotions and how's
Hmm.
my mind and right,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful practice.
And I was thinking about you this week, Christine, breathing in between a place that feels good in your body and a place that might be giving you some feedback,
Hmm.
and so I love doing that. I would love to go into um, more of your work, Dr. Desi, around prenatal and postnatal care. What does that look like? And I don't even know if I know the best way to start that conversation and like where we as women should consider our wellness. So I'll leave it at that and let you take the soapbox on how you walk people through it.
So for me, as a trainer, as a yoga instructor, as a fitness professional, I never wanted to teach prenatal until I had experienced pregnancy in my own body. It doesn't
Right.
mean that someone cannot. It was just for me, that was my choice.
Agreed.
And so when I was pregnant the first time, I felt like Goldilocks. Like I was going to this class and this was too easy and this was too hard. And this one, they didn't say the word baby. And at that point, I already had my master's degree in corporate fitness and lots of certifications. And I had this moment of like, oh my gosh, yes, I have the tools and now I have the experience. So I closed my eyes, I went within and I talked to the baby inside. And I said, please guide me. If anything doesn't feel right, I will be receptive to your feedback. So I created movement patterns and started to get really sort of myopic about it, a little obsessed. And so that led to creating DVDs at the time and writing my first book because I felt like there's so much information and it's not always available and it's not always put together as
Cohesively?
clearly, yes,
Yeah.
as cohesively as we might need as women. It might just be a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And
Right.
so I wanted it to be super, super clear, something that everyone can follow. What is it that you should be doing in terms of physical movement? And the general rule is if you didn't do it before you were pregnant, pregnancy is not the time to start. So, for example, I'm not going to give you a HIIT workout if you're 3 months pregnant and you never did it before. But there are some exceptions to this, of course, and yoga, especially gentle yoga, we can absolutely start during the pregnancy. And I look at it as an opportunity to connect with the baby. So imagine, I don't know what your relationships with your moms is or was, but imagine if we could open the line of communication with our children while they're still in our bodies. And so that's what I love to offer.
Oh, I just
Wow.
love it.
Thank you
When
for that.
I've had 2 kiddos, Dr. Desi, and I learned a lot between the first and second, and especially about your body when you're carrying babies and between the first and second, I became a birth doula because of birth trauma in the first one. And so I
Mhm.
learned a lot more about my body. And so by the time I was pregnant with the second one, which was who she was 4 years after the first, I was doing that. I was talking to her, I was having the conversations, and I will never forget because I was overdue, and I had a midwife because I had decided I was going to do a home birth for my second, and I was working full time in foster care and adoption. So I had just gone and presented a family and matched them for an adoption. And I went back to my office and I was typing it all up just in case. And then on the way home, I had this full conversation with Samantha. She was still a Samantha at that time in my stomach. And I was like, hey there, we're running almost a week late at this point. At my time, not yours, but they're starting to talk about we may need to go to the hospital. And I'd
Mhm.
really like to have you at home. So, can we talk about you coming out? I had this whole conversation with her. I wake up the next morning in labor, right? In labor. And so I labor at home all day long And I had a Montrese that was coming to check on me. I had all this. Well, I talked to my midwife, and it was probably, I don't know, 9 or 10, 9 o'clock at least, because I'm an early bird. I'm early to bed, early to rise. And my midwife is on the phone with me, and she said, "All right, I need you to get ready to labor all night." Well, I was like, "Oh, no, ma'am. No, ma'am." So I get off the phone and I have this whole conversation. And I'm like, "Hey, babe, you need to know about your mom. She is not an all nighter. No, like it is bedtime. I need you to come out. It is time." So that kid came out at 11:10, and, like, my Montrese came to check on me, and she called the midwife, and she's like, "You need to get here now." And the midwife was like, "What happened? I just had a conversation with her." She said, "I don't know, but this baby is coming." And so going back to having those conversations while they're in the womb, I was like, yeah, I fully was having this conversation, and, back then, she was a really obedient child.
I love that story, Christine. Thank you so much for sharing that. I start at the same place that you were when women are asking me, when they say, "I really need or want to go into labor," or like, "How can you help me get things going?" The first thing I offer is always, "Please talk to the baby inside." And you can say, "Hey, it would be easier for both of us if this works for you and it's in your divine right timing to come like now."
Now.
And then, yeah, from there we can get into like cool postures, different sorts of inversions for helping to move things along so that the baby can engage with the pelvis. But I always start with talking to the baby.
Right? And it's magical. It's
Mhm.
it's magical. And really feeling into their spirits, and it's hysterical to me too when things, even when you don't know. So with my first, I wasn't as aware. I was younger. I was just getting into holistic things. I do remember though, so for that labor, I it was December 18th, 17th, 18th. So I got on this kick where all I wanted to listen to, it was Kenny G's. It was back in 1997. So it was Kenny G's holiday album. And that's all I wanted to listen to that whole time because it soothed me, right? Well, that kiddo came out. She does not like saxophone at all. Never has, will not. She plays classical music, but saxophone is off the chart. And I'm like, oh, I ruined her for life because I listened to it for 18 hours on repeat.
That's adorable. I love that.
I see you
I love
talking, Shannon.
those.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the girls and enjoying learning these little details about them.
I hadn't thought about it in years, Desi. So I love
Mm.
having, because my kids are now 27 and 24. So it's, or 23, 23 and 27. Or wait, 24 and 28. Good Lord, I'm at that age now, y'all. I don't know how old they are. They're in their 20s.
You've done a phenomenal job. Yes.
so so I have not thought about this in years, but I love
Mm.
having this discussion because it is so much a part of our listeners' lives, whether they're thinking about having kids, currently pregnant, or postpartum. And I had a curiosity about the postpartum part of the work that you do with clients. Will you tell our listeners a little more about that?
Yeah, so when I'm working with women who have recently had a baby, I want to be really mindful that the body is still not a stable system. There's still a lot of movement that's happening internally. When in the days following the birth, the uterus is contracting and it goes through a process called involution. So we have this like crazy idea that we tell women like right after you've had the baby that your tummy's going to be flat when you leave the hospital. I'm like, no, 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 no. We still look like 8 months pregnant when we leave the hospital because the uterus has not contracted back down to its original size, which is typically like the size of a fist. So once that process has begun, we can begin with deep breathing and soothing your nervous system and talking about how every time we exhale, at the end of the exhalation, you have an opportunity to ever so gently engage your core. It's just a little hug in towards the spine. And I keep them with that for the first few weeks so that when they go to lift that baby, they can engage their core so that they feel safe. Then we start with walking, walking with the baby, wearing the baby. Each week, our baby is going to grow. They're going to thrive. They're going to put on a little bit of weight. And in the same way that you get more flexible if you practice yoga each week, you're going to get stronger if you're lifting progressive load, which is in this case, the baby. The baby's getting heavier and heavier, and your body has a specific adaptation to that demand. So now your core is engaged, your biceps are engaged, you're bonding with your baby, and it's this really beautiful process. From there, then I can move into yoga and into light fitness. But what I see some women, the word that I like to use is frisky. They get too frisky with exercise immediately. And they start to do full sit-ups or leg lifts because there's this judgment around how we should look instead of listening to the body. And we ignore these signals all of the time. Whether it's waking up and you feel really tired, and instead of giving your body a little bit more rest or a moment or water or sunshine, what do? We grab for espresso, we grab for simple carbohydrate, and we're like, shh, to the body. And the body is not always going to be that subtle. At some point, it might scream. And so with new mommies, I want to make sure that we stay receptive to the subtle feedback, because now it's not just about her. She has someone else to take care of as well.
Oh, I so believe in that. And especially if you're nursing. And I had to learn that the hard way about hydration and doing too much, especially the second one. Because, I think with the first one, I know for me, I was more nervous and more tuned in and reading all the things. And then the second, the more, then it was like I was juggling so many things. And I think as women, if we're working or whether we're working in the home or outside of the home or a combination, there's just always something else to do. And so I think it's easy sometimes for us to ignore those signals like you're talking about really listening to what do we need in this moment to take care of ourselves.
And it makes me a little crazy when people say things like, when the baby naps, you should nap. Well, A, I might not be sleepy at that moment. And B, what about the whole entire house? I still have other things I need to do. But one thing that I do like to encourage women to do is to bring their babies into movement, whether it's a newborn and the baby is laying down at the top of the yoga mat, or if you're holding the baby for simple things like squats, you are modeling health and wellness and self-care for that baby from the time that they're little. And so when they look at you, they're like, oh, wow, that's wonderful. Mommy's strong. But more than that, we're playing. They want that time.
Right. I love that. I always think about that when I see moms or dads or folks out walking with their babies, or or in their bicycles. My sister and my nibblings, they're in Boulder in Colorado, so they do a lot of cycling because that city is so built for cyclists, and I love that. I love getting kids into movement from the very little. Mine loved. We had a babar. I don't know if you've seen the babar. The elephant, the yoga book.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we lived by that yoga book. They loved those poses and us being in movement together. I need to ask them if they still remember that, because I don't know if either of them are currently have a yoga practice. But I was thinking about that when you said that about your mom, and about how, you were raised that your body is a vessel. I love that.
And motion or movement is really, it's a tool for us to move emotion. And so if we're taught as children, if you're angry, if you're feeling just really frustrated, we can move, and we can move that out of your body. So I feel like it's a wonderful gift to pass on to our kids. And
Mhm.
Christine, I just have to share for a moment because of your Kenny G story. I
Mhm.
was thinking like, oh, I wonder if my kids are kind of like over anything if I did it too much. Um, they're not super excited about yoga practice all the time now because they had so many years of it. They will get on the mat and they'll practice with me on my birthday every year. So God bless them for that. What I do see is that they each have a foundation for movement. And so
Mhm.
now one is in basketball and the other one is in baseball, and they have their individual expression of what that looks like. But
Right.
in my heart, I know some of it came from what we did.
Oh, you know it.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Now, Shannon, as somebody who hasn't had kids yet,
Hmm.
do you have any questions or thoughts about this in
Mm.
regard to as you prepare for that stage of your life?
No, I think so. Yes, I have another question, but I can tell you to specifically answer your question, Christine, the way I've really been enjoying having access to all our amazing expert guests before I get there to all these stages is trying to empty my mind from what I think I know, right? And then just let you tell me. And what I found, even as a new fiance, right? I got here and I'm like, oh wow, I'm so glad I asked that question because this is what she was talking about and I had no idea and I know exactly what she's talking about now, you know. And so that's kind of how I feel about it. Um and so I welcome whatever you ladies are sharing, whatever comes up. My question that I was thinking about though specifically, um as we talk about it, is this post that I saw and was talking about what we're sharing about postpartum and how, we're excited about the bump and then the baby comes and we're excited about the baby and the mom needs to be held too.
Mhm.
So when we're are for the listeners who are moms right now, and are looking for the community or trying to, they're connected to Women Connected in Wisdom because they need the resources. And they may be telling themselves right now that they don't have the support that they would like to have as a mom, right? And they might not feel like they have somebody physically there to hold them like they're holding this new baby or their second child, right? How does that woman intentionally take care of herself so that she can recenter and get to the place of taking the deep breaths and the new normal of the rhythm of her life?
Such an important question. Well, first of all, let me just tell you that if you choose to become a mother in this life, your baby will have such a gift in the power of your voice, Shannon. Your voice, I think I've told you this before, it's like warm honey, it's like a
Mm,
salve.
thank
And
you.
so, like, your baby is super lucky. Um,
Thank you.
but what I'm thinking about is the power of community. We have to have community. And however that manifests in your life, please be proactive with it. If that's through the gym, if it's through a religious institution, if it's through your work, find at least one or two girlfriends that you can talk to. And then also be proactive about asking for help. And you can say, you know what, whether it's like mother in law, extended family, whatever, I could really use a little help. Do you think you could stop at the grocery store on the way? Or can you hold my baby so I can go take a shower? But it's about not feeling guilty or embarrassed, but actually being really specific. Because I find that a lot of people are really excited to help, but they don't know how. So if you tell them, like, hey, this is exactly what I need, then very often they step up. And then additionally, in new motherhood, we also need a minute for ourselves occasionally, right? So it's okay to say, "Can you watch my baby for 20 minutes?" And then you go outside, you get some sunshine, you enjoy some deep breaths on your own because you're still an individual. As much as you're connected to that soul and that spirit and you are the mama, you deserve a minute as well, of course.
Absolutely. I love that. And I just listened to this piece of advice. This woman was like, stop telling people that you don't need anything when they ask you. You do need something. You need
Yeah.
something right now. You need a cup of
Mm.
water. You need some money. You need something. So I have actively been working on asking for more help. I realized I did not. I will say do not. I still do not ask for help as much as I have the opportunity to. So I
And I
hear what you're
Mm.
think
saying.
that is just habit. How
Yeah.
are you? Fine. Need
Right.
anything? No, I'm good.
Right.
Good. Yeah. Well, especially when you're the caregiver usually.
Yeah.
when you're the person used to taking care of other people. You saying all this, it made me think about, and I can't remember it. I'd have to go back and look and see if I
Mhm.
kept it. I had a community when I had my first child that I can't even remember what it says, but they gave me this piece of paper to put on my door. I was in married student housing at the time, and it was this lovely invitation that if you were dropping off food from the food, because somebody had created a food chain for me where they people would drop off food for the first couple of weeks when but it said, unless you've made pre-arrangements, please don't knock, please don't, it really gave specific instructions. And oh, if you are coming in, pick up a room and do the, like, it was lovely. It was this beautiful invitation to community. And I think about it because at first I felt really guilty because I was like, wait, what do you mean I'm not going to talk to the people that drop off food? Very southern. But but I still remember, like, one of the meals that was dropped off was from my chiropractor and his wife. One of the best meals I ever had. They sent the recipe with it too, and it's a meal I still cook for my family to this day because it was so nourishing and it was such a blessing in my life that I pass it on, and then I do that for new moms. And it was, they made it homemade. They put it in a, this is what you want to do if you want to freeze it or if you want to reheat it, and here's the rest. And I was just like, what I like that it stuck with me 28 years later, that I still have that feeling of warmth and kindness and being held during that time in my life. Yeah.
I love
Uh,
that. So I'm very hippy dippy, and
mhm,
I truly believe that food holds energy, and the
mhm,
intention that you have behind preparing the food is held in there. And so the intention, it sounds like, was nourishment and kindness and generosity and love.
mhm.
And so you feel that to this day.
To
So
this, like, 28 years later,
amazing.
right? And I've been out of touch with these folks for probably 24 years
I
from
was gonna
since the
ask you.
time I moved. Like, I haven't,
Mm.
I was trying to recall their names. It was Dr. L and his wife. Like, I would have to go back and look, right? But to still feel their love that much later is powerful.
I love
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
I'm
And
glad
if
you,
we
and I'm
can,
glad you had that.
yeah.
Mhm.
What were you
If
gonna
we
say,
can
Desi?
remember mamas and take care of them also, not just for the mamas asking and advocating for yourself, as I will ask you to do in everything, and that includes doctor's appointments, but also for everyone listening, if you know a new mama, go bring her some food. Bring her something that's going to have that kind of loving impact so many years later.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so Dr. Desi, every week we talk about how we help our clients and our guests, right? But then we talk about what we do for ourselves because we know that
Mhm.
women who hold so much for everyone else, like you said, have to hold space for themselves as well. So for your physical wellness this week, what are you being intentional about?
Mm. So I am in my early 50s, and that puts me squarely in that perimenopausal transition. And so what I'm being intentional about is protein. In addition to women on GLP-1s, women who are in perimenopause are at risk for not having enough protein. What that can lead to is something called sarcopenia, which is essentially like a degradation of muscle tissue, which in turn can lead to osteopenia and osteoporosis. So that's a really long way of saying I am starting to really look at protein content in each meal and making sure that I have it in the morning. It is a non-negotiable. I will put it in my coffee. I will find a way to do it, but that's how I'm supporting my physical vessel at this time.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Do you have a certain measurement? What's your goal for each meal?
So my measurement for the entire day, I try to
Hmm.
go for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So I'll just make it easy and I'll use myself. I'm 118 pounds. I want 118 grams of protein. Do I have that every single day? No. If I get 80% of that, I'm super happy. But the way that I measure it, because I am not the person who has the time for the food scale and all the things, I don't want to make
Right.
myself crazy with it.
Hmm.
I use my hand. So the palm is essentially the size of the protein at every meal. The entire hand is the size of the carb at every meal. And
Hmm.
then like half a palm is going to be the amount of fat. So I just eyeball it.
Okay. I love that. And I love that you are not trying to be a perfectionist about hitting it on the nail every time, right? I hear you on the getting into, you talked about the myopic details earlier, getting down to the really small details, but just making sure that you do what you can. And I would say, even at my age, I fasted last month and I was not getting enough protein at first. And so protein is on my list too. But that is not my wisdom in action. Let me see. I love for my wisdom in action is something that you said earlier, which was nourish, and I'm gonna nourish it, and that's for my physical wellness. I've been intentional about getting my weighted workouts and my inside workouts since it's been so cold. Um, but when we talk about babies and the pregnancy cycle and different things, it's interesting. I see a lot of similarities in business too, you know. And so that's what I'm thinking about my list of people who we are supposed to nourish in the business and making sure that we communicate, whether it's marketing, social media engagement, and just getting all these resources to the people that need them. In general, I'm thinking about nourishing things.
I love that so much. Let me just share really quickly, and then
Yes.
Christine, I want to hear yours.
Yeah.
But Shannon, so when I'm working with people who are not pregnant, when I'm working with other instructors and I'm teaching
Yes.
them how to teach pregnant women, and I
Yes.
bring them into meditation and we connect with the belly, rather than saying, "Imagine that you're pregnant," I say, "Close your eyes and envision a project, a creative expression that wants to be born through you, and breathe with it."
Hmm.
So I completely connect to what you're saying.
I love that. Breathe with it. Yes. And I'll do hashtag breathe with it too. I like that.
Mhm.
Breathe with it.
I
Okay,
love that.
Christine,
Well, I think
what
mine very
what about
clearly
you?
from the universe this week is hashtag rest. Hashtag
Mm.
rest. So I also want to give a shout out because I did a quick Google search. Dr. Luquette and his wife are still practicing
Okay.
in Nacogdoches, Texas. So want to give
Thank
them
you
a
so much,
shout
Dr.
out for
LaQuette.
that love that they gave me that many years ago. And
Yes. And
yeah.
I want to give a shout out if I could because we mentioned her earlier, but we did not say her name, and we all talked about the Bad Bunny halftime show, right?
Hmm.
Charm LaDonna is the name of the
Mm,
choreographer. Great
mm,
job, Charm. I saw it.
great
I saw it.
job.
Yes. This has been a pleasure. Dr.
Hmm.
Desi, can you tell our listeners how to find you, how to connect with you? And I actually have one more question after you give us the connection information.
Yeah, for sure. So my website is Desi, Desi, body, mind, all one word, .com. You can also find me on Instagram at Mothers Into Living Fit, but it's my pleasure and my joy to share in whatever way someone can receive. So I've written books, I have videos on my platform, I have videos on YouTube, I lead international retreats. Whatever your comfortability is with the amount of spending time and or price point, I've got you. I never want that to be something that prohibits you from enjoying movement.
Thank you so much for that. And we are the exact same way. So thank you for all the work that you do, making sure that our ladies are supported and taken care of. So I know we talked about a couple of different phases of our cycles, right? As women, you talk about hormones and all the changes we go through. I wanted to give a little more space to the perimenopause phase because we haven't gone too much into detail in that. And there's not a lot of research. And, we've had a few guests talk about it. But I would love to hear how you talk about support for those ladies as well, so that if they're out there and, well, excuse me, the women who are listening who need the resources in this area, can have some more context as well.
There's approximately $54 billion given to medical research in this country, and of that, less than 1% is given annually to perimenopause and menopause. We need more information, full stop.
Right.
My second book, uh, Total Body Beautiful, we really went into what is a hormone panel? What do you say when you walk into the doctor's office? How do you advocate for yourself? In addition to, of course, yoga and fitness. So essentially, what's happening is that the hormones start to look a little crazy. It's not this like cycle of like, oh, 28 days and then a bleed.
Right.
It doesn't look like that anymore. And
Mm,
so some months you might even have two cycles. And do you remember like back in the day they used to talk about change of life babies, women
I
who
don't
got
know.
pregnant later in life.
No.
So that was a thing. They didn't really understand that when a woman has 2 cycles, she also has 2 ovulation windows, and so she can be, really fertile. And so they would call this like a change of life pregnancy. Now they call it a geriatric pregnancy, which I include myself in. Anyone who has a baby over 35, it's called geriatric pregnancy, and I've had 2.
Hmm.
So you might be someone who's still, wanting to have babies and
Right.
looking at that. But what we want to look at is that there are 70, pardon me, up to 77 symptoms that can manifest in a woman's body. And the most common are vasomotor symptoms, so hot flashes and night sweats. Second most common, sleep disturbances, which makes sense because if you wake up sweating, of course you're going to get up, change the sheets. It's a whole cycle.
Right.
And then the third is belly fat. All of a sudden, our jeans don't fit. We're looking down. The weight is the same. How come my abdomen looks so different? And that is because estrogen in the form of estradiol has taken a sharp decline. And so there is a redistribution of the fat pattern. Now, that's all the nerdy science behind it. But I also want to give women the tools like, what do we do? How do we mitigate these symptoms? How can we be proactive? And that's where my systems come in. That's where the body mind workout comes in. And I want to give you the tools of yoga, fitness, meditation, and nutrition, because it's all of those that help empower us through these stages and phases.
Yes, yes. And go ahead, Christine, because I was going to go a different
Oh,
direction. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say I love this, and I feel
Yes.
like we could have a whole nother show about it. And I just
Hmm.
want to give a shout out to my friend Cecile, who was co-hosting last week, because I'm
Yeah.
always telling her more protein. So I wanted to say that when you said that about protein, because she's always like, "You always say that," and I'm like, "Yes, because it's backed by science." So I'm going to share this part of the show with her also.
Yes. Yes to more
I love it.
protein. Um, the question that I had was about, oh, the superpowers. And we were talking about blood dosing. When you said that, I didn't know what you meant when we were talking about pregnancy. So, as a life and health insurance agent, what I'm used to is pregnancy being categorized as a disability, right? It's a bias that I have about the categorization. So, I would love to give, some seconds here at the end of the show to go into um, the added strength and the some of the unknown benefits of pregnancy that we don't usually
Mm.
talk about.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so blood doping is the practice of taking drugs to increase physical performance.
Okay.
Remember a certain cyclist back in the day, last
Yes.
name rhymes with Armstrong.
Right.
Um, so when we're pregnant, we have 50% more blood volume on average, at least. And so we are more highly oxygenated on a cellular level. We are quite literally full of life, and we have this power and this strength. Now, we do have to know how to harness that and how to train it. And when you see it in action, it is so amazing. When you see people like Gabby Reese, like really pregnant playing volleyball back when she was pregnant, or you see Rihanna just rocking it on the stage, you can see like what's the extra kick, what's the extra spark, and it's pregnancy on a physiological level, on a physical level, and an emotional level, in my belief.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
Mm, yum. Thank you so much, Dr. Desi. This has been an incredible conversation.
Yes, it has.
Thank you both for your time. You are such inspirational women, and I feel like I'm talking to my girlfriends. So thank you for the connection.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. And we're grateful to
Yes.
be connected and to get our listeners connected with your resources and your amazing work. And I
Yeah.
know you have a retreat next week, so have an incredible time. And yeah, I'm glad
That's
for
gonna be
people to
good.
know you and to know your work.
Yeah. It's an honor for you to feel that way. And y'all, this retreat that she has next week, so I'm gonna tell you right now, it's already booked. So you gotta get to her information early. You'll go to the page and it's down because I looked earlier, okay? But get connected. If Dr. Desi is a great fit for you, thank you so much for coming on and sharing.
Thank you both. I truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
Oh my gosh, so good. So good.
Yes. Yes,
Mm,
yes.
yum. Boy,
Is
that took me back. I didn't
I
expect
know.
some of those stories and memories to come up. That was fun.
That's what's such the interesting thing sometimes is we think we have things front of mind. We think that we're remembering the things that are relevant to what's going on, and then stuff will come up that we completely forgot about, but that was so relevant and
Mhm,
present in other seasons.
mhm.
So I was grateful for the different stories that you shared, and um, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how the information will be relevant and how many different people I can help. We were just talking about body image and weight loss, realistic timelines and stuff yesterday, so
Mhm.
I love what we do
Mm,
here.
good
Yeah.
stuff. Good stuff. Anything
Yes.
we want to shout out before we close out episode 217?
Absolutely, y'all. It is 2026 right now. It depends on when you listen to this replay, right, or where you are in the world. But right now, the doors are open for volume three. So if you love hearing these types of stories, if you love being connected to people like Dr. Desi, and you also have a resource, you also have a story that you would like to share with Women Connected in Wisdom, get tapped in. Whether you're on the link listening to the podcast or on our link tree, there's a link there. Put in the information for the interest form to volume three, and we'll add you to our list of people that we're reaching out to. But after volume two, I was like, oh, I have more to say. I wonder if we're going
Mhm.
to have another book. We didn't do it last year. So don't wait till the next time. If this is the time and you feel that tug on your heart, see if Women Connected in Wisdom is the right fit for you. And we would love to have you join
Right.
us.
Yeah, we're looking for 24 authors.
Yeah, we
And
are.
you know what I love? Not just walking through the process, because we do all kinds of classes about writing your bio and your storytelling, and I love all of that.
Yeah.
But I also love the publishing part
Mm,
and walking people through how to be a best-selling author. And
yes.
then I love our summit that comes afterwards. I missed having our summit last year, where then
Yes.
we walk our authors through how to be speakers
Yeah.
and how to open up those doors as a best-selling author into speaking and letting the world hear your voice and hear your purpose and what you're doing in the world. It's just, I don't know, it lights me up. So
Yes.
I can't wait to meet this cohort of
I know.
authors and see what they have to say.
That's what I'm
Right?
waiting for. I wonder who's going to be on the list. What stories are we
Hmm.
going to be sharing? What are we going to be reading through? And I love seeing the impact, the people who come to the conference who may not physically be able to get there in person, but they can come join our virtual events. I was thinking about
Right.
it when Dr. Desi was talking about her international event, was thinking about ours and what we've been doing over the last few years. So get
Right.
connected, y'all. We'll be here live at 5 next week. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Nope.
Okay, beautiful. We'll see you live at 5. In the meantime, be well, be wise, be whole. Talk to you soon.